with the same guy writing it.
Yeah, I know. All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the Marvel Minute. I am Brandon, as always, joined by Trevitt. Trevitt, how we doing, man?
Not bad at all.
And I think everyone tried to play a prank on us this week by choosing Weapon H #1 over Thanos, especially. And what was the other one? It was up against #3. I can't recall right now. So we'll move on. But yeah, Weapon H won in what appears to have been a prank pulled by members of the Get Fresh crew. Probably spearheaded. Yeah, Tales of Suspense. Yeah, so you guys chose Weapon H over, the backstory of Black Widow dying and Thanos fighting the future Silver Surfer. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's
epic
goes. Yeah, I don't know what goes into the decision making of this voting. But yeah, it led to Weapon H #1 this week. Written by Greg Pak. Art team of Corey Smith, Maury Howell, and Marcus too, who's on some backup duties for the backup story that Maury Hollowell also contributes to. Marvel Comics production obviously comes out this week. I think by the looks of the size of this book, I didn't look it up or fact check or anything, but probably a $4.99 title. I'm not sure though. Don't quote me on that.
I think so. 35 pages.
Yeah, it was long. It was a long book. So that's what gives me that intuition. But anyway, the title I have to this to this book here is H is the Loneliest Letter. And yes, it did lead in. If you heard the song, One is the Loneliest Number, and I would have changed it and created a song on my own for that, but I cannot sing. And it would be worse than any rendition Reggie or Jim or Dancing Mike could put out. So, poor planning on my part because I didn't really read it to this morning to get somebody to make a song for us. But that's what happened. That's the connection there. So yeah, this is coming out of the Weapon X book, basically. The first, I don't know, I would say 10 issues or so dealt with this whole Weapon H fiasco and the efforts going down to create it and get the different blood of the different people they needed and this and that.
Maybe more than 10.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to say at least 2 trades. It could have been a little more. I don't even know what number the series is at now, but it's not really dealing with this anymore, and it's spinning out into its own book with Weapon H being the title character. So that's where this all comes from if you're the least bit curious, but they do a more than substantial job of, connecting those dots for you and not really making it necessary to read all of that it spun out of. So if you want to just pick this up, you can. And we start the events here in Butte or Butte. I don't know what it's called. Montana. That's a real place. Yeah, I remember laughing at it when I was a kid and I heard it existed. So Butte, Montana at 5 a.m. in the morning. Our issue begins with the title character who goes by the name of Clay, who is also Weapon H. He's a former soldier turned Weapon X facility patient after really kind of, screwing people over he shouldn't have screwed over. He's on the run because that's what you do when Weapon X creates you. You listen to them momentarily, and then you break out of that place, and you keep running, and you don't look back.
Pretty much.
Yeah. If you're, I don't know, have you listened to any of that Wolverine Long Night podcast at all?
Not yet. I put it in my queue, but I haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah, that's kind of what's going down there a little bit too. I think I've only listened to 2 episodes, but that's the hints I kind of pull out of what I've gotten so far. And yeah, shout out to that podcast. If you haven't listened to it, you're interested. It is worth the listen to. I've enjoyed the first 2 episodes. It's not corny or anything. It's kind of in the vein of a Superman radio play, but more modern and up to date. So, it lacks that Silver Age quality, but it's fun at the same time. Anyway, back to Weapon H. He's standing just outside, kind of, I don't know, like a Home Depot scene you'd see going down in Florida with a group of characters looking for work for the day. Not trying to be racist, but just from my daily observations when I've been to Florida, just trying to keep himself out of trouble and get a little.
That happens up here too.
Yeah, does it? And not,
Yeah,
not
it
really
happens
at the
here.
Home Depots in Buffalo. I haven't noticed it. I've been there a lot lately, but nobody's willing to help me. I would have hired them. He's just trying to keep on keeping on and get a little cash to survive. Ends up going through the day of construction work, shoveling and whatnot. The crew is dropped off by the person who hired him, and he jumps out of the truck, and they are quickly jumped by just a group of bandanaed faced thugs demanding the money that they've hardly earned throughout the day. This obviously
Really?
does. What? Go ahead. Sorry, I'm cutting you off.
They look like skinheads, don't they?
Yeah, and but they got like the colors of the Bloods on, so I'm not really sure what's going on here. This obviously does not sit well with Clay. He's kind of put off all day talking to anybody and saying he doesn't understand any language they try to talk to him in, but speaks English here and tries to stick up for everybody who's getting robbed, and takes a baseball bat to the gut for his efforts. Which obviously gets him angry enough to turn him into Weapon H, and he ends up getting the final word as we flash to our title page. Cuts the gun, cuts the dude's arm off, and you can just imagine what happened to the rest of the assholes trying to jump those dudes.
You know what? His hand, like when he turns into that Hulk Marine, like his hand and claws are so big to chop that gun, and like the whole forearm must have came right off.
Yeah, I'm sure it only took one claw to hit the gun, and then the rest of the claws like just went through the rest of his arm. You know what I'm saying? Like just with one swipe. So, because he does end up turning huge. He's got like, I don't know if it's metal coming out of him or if those are bones protruding from him. It looks different depending on what panel you're looking at sometimes. But 13 hours later, we flash to him ending up in Alaska from Montana. He's still kind of seeking some peace and quiet. He's just trying to stay on the down low, hanging out by this stream, trying to cut off his fingertips and remain anonymous so nobody can track him down, really. But because of the combination of Wolverine and Hulk powers he has, he just heals right up, so that's not working. Despite his best efforts to keep from running into people, he ends up doing so anyway, and obviously they're in various states of peril and non-peril, and he can't seem to stay alone for too long, even in Alaska. So he runs first into this family, just kind of walking along this trail he's on, and he just goes walking up into the mountain. And then on his path up through the mountain, a little later on, comes into contact with this team of Roxxon scientific research, in quotes, people who are here to, I don't know, investigate something that went down in a previous mission, I guess, that they can't really pinpoint. The one girl feels like she's been here a couple times. Other people seem kind of newer to the area. And when they land and start getting set up, they're like a bunch of dummies. They go full hard R's and they forget all their food supplies. And then trying to get in contact with their helicopter can't. So they're really kind of screwed. Clay overhears all this nonsense going down and ends up killing a nearby deer, gutting the thing and just leaving it at the shelter, like this cabin they've set up, kind of out of nowhere.
I had a thought that maybe like forgetting the food wasn't an accident because of what happens later. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's all set up for this scumbag that's about to be revealed here shortly in the story. But Clay ends up helping him out anyway. The guys are kind of like hesitant to eat the food that's just left there strangely for them. So that also sets up what's about to happen a little further. But the girl's like, yeah, fuck you guys. I'm about to chow into this venison and pig out.
Fuck yeah.
So 4 hours later, Clay ends up down at this ranger station. So he puts in a call, lets, the authorities know this Roxxon group is stranded at the top of the mountain. But as he hangs up the phone and kind of gives off a last glance, he also senses something else is just off up there. So he goes back to check it out. Meanwhile, we peek in on the scientists in the story as they go off on their mission. The chick's all, full bellied. She's like, well, might as well get some work done while we're waiting for the pickup. I don't think they really need a full deer for 3 days. You know what I'm saying? Like they thought they were going to starve to death. And they only had like, I don't know what they had, some granola bars and hard candy.
Yeah.
that would suck for 3 days, but I think you would make it. You're not dying, but
Yeah, most definitely.
that was a little off, but you know, kind of a nitpicky thing. But they go off on the hunt, and they find this, you know, pile of bones that they were apparently looking for. So they start investigating. To celebrate, this is where it starts connecting all together and getting a little crazy, kind of goofy, but you know, all makes sense. This scummy scientist of the three, he pulls out some beef jerky he was apparently hoarding, and he's like, "Yeah, let's celebrate with some of this good stuff." So the chick's all pissed at him and refuses to take part. But the other guy, you know, since he wouldn't eat the deer either, is like, "All right, you know, toss me some of that." As he's chowing down on it and mentioning it's specifically great, you know, that's always the setup for the next line of, "Oh yeah, it's just human flesh." He's like, "Stop fucking with me," and he's like, "Oh, I'm not fucking with you. That's really human flesh." So obviously he starts reacting, because if you've ever read a Marvel book and you take a bite of human flesh above the Canadian border, shit starts going wrong. And that bad shit means you're going to turn into a Wendigo. So this dude Wendigo's out. He's kind of like a mangy looking Wendigo. I don't know. There's something. I read the letter thing the author wrote in the back of the book, and he mentions about something being different about this Wendigo. So I think that has to do with the look. But yeah, he's huge. He's pissed. He's a little wolf man looking. And that's just when he starts attacking the scummy scientist. And we get our first reveal here that he is Bishop from the Aliens. he is an android, and this is exactly what he wanted to happen all along. So this is part of Roxxon's plan too. They wanted this Wendigo to come out. So yeah, the Roxxon being Roxxon, the scummy ass company. Are they just like scientific research, or are they like, what do they specifically do?
They have they have their hands in every scientific research, oil, like everything.
They're like the Marvel Universe Google, but extra scummy, kind of like
that.
Yeah. So yeah, he turns the Wendigo after this thing's revealed to be a robot, then turns his attention to the Flesh, the real Flesh, the chick scientist, and starts chasing her. That's when Weapon H pops into the picture, and the first thing he does is cut the damn head off the android who's now of no service to anybody, and he starts fighting with the Wendigo. So we get a few panels of a fight scene, and yeah, he basically saves the girl's life, and we'll continue that next issue. But we get a interesting cliffhanger where, meanwhile, in Greenwich Village, New York, we got Doctor Strange in the Sanctum Sanctorum, noticing, peeking in on the Alaskan wilderness, that this fight is going down. So it grabs his attention, and possibly he's going to guest star our next issue, I would guess. Put an end to this, probably stop that Wendigo curse from going any further.
He even says Wendigo, but bigger and stronger. So
yeah, so he knows it's a little fucked up and different. He needs to put a stop to that. And then we get a backup story, which mainly also revisits the Wendigo Weapon H fight. You know, that doesn't really expand on it at all. Doesn't make any progress as far as that goes. It mainly just highlights Clay's what's left of the family that he left behind. He's trying to just stay away from, so nothing bad happens to them. It's basically his wife trying to apply for benefits and running into all these bullshit government roadblocks because Clay's quote unquote not really dead, so they don't have a death certificate. They won't pay her. Meanwhile, she does this kind of swiping of this paperwork thing while she goes to this office to get some answers and investigates it with a Google search, and it ends very Spider-Man-esque with like a surprise look on her face after she hit that enter key. And that's really all we really know about it. So she's digging into what's going on with her husband. Yeah, and that's how the issue ends. I'll be honest with you. I really expected I was being trolled, and I would have hated this book from start to end. I wasn't a huge fan of the story coming out of Weapon X to begin with. Maybe it's like just the goodwill of the Damage book I'm enjoying, right? Riding high on these type of stories. But yeah, I did like it. I don't think it's for everybody. You got to be down for a little bit of ridiculousness and nonsense, but it's just a fun book. I wish it was $3.99. So if it's $4.99, that's another kind of hurdle. But I'm going to give it overall a borrow. I like the art enough. I like the story enough. I think I might definitely peek back for issue 2. I have a soft spot for Wendigo stories. I really kind of like them. I don't know. I know they always just end eventually, but they're fun. A lot of fighting when they happen and they pop up. So yeah, I mean, X-Men and Wendigo stories usually get me, and this is kind of like a amalgam X-Men Hulk versus the Wendigo, so you can't hate it if you're me and that's what you like. So I'm going to stick with a borrow. I don't think it's definitely everyone go buy it and read it, but I think if you like the crazy comics and just some fun, this is a decent book to find that stuff there for. So yeah, I'm gonna go with a borrow. What about you?
I really liked it. I was surprised. This was like the comic that came out this week that I had the least amount of interest in, and I didn't really. Maybe it's because my expectations were so low because the Hulk, the Weapon X Hulk crossover WMD thing.
Yeah,
it was okay, but it went on too long.
It went on for so long. Yeah, it was probably between that crossover and everything, like a total of 16 issues because I forgot about the WMD stuff.
Yeah, and after, it was like the beginning of Weapon X before it even started, but it was still that story.
Yeah,
that was all the setup. Then it happened. And it was like a bunch of issues of Weapon X and Totally Awesome Hulk. And then after that ended, that's like 2 trades right there. Yep. And then it ended and they were still hunting him. Just Weapon X was hunting him. And I found that more interesting than I did the story that introduced him. And this was better than all of that. And it's written by the same guy, which I just find hilarious. I like the Corey Smith art. I liked him from X-Men Blue, the Clone Conspiracy Omega issue, and he recently did Spider-Man Annual. I like the backup. I love Marcus too. I like because this got explored a little in about his family in the WMD story, or I think it was after actually when the Doctor was hunting him and Weapon X was hunting him. And I love the Dario Agger tie-in from Roxxon. Like he sees the Hulk and he's like, I got to figure out how to get me one of these. You know what I mean? Yeah. And this is a bad guy that we see a lot in Mighty Thor because he's involved heavily. He's the Minotaur from Mighty Thor, and he runs Roxxon, and he plays a big part in the War of the Realms because Malekith lets him go all over the realms and fucking steal their resources. Like he goes to like these far off like fantasy worlds and steals oil. Like he's got his hands in everything. Why not have his hands in trying to get his own Hulkverine? And it was just like a nice tie-in that she ends up working for this company. They take an interest in him. So she just happens to have that database at her disposal to like, she runs that search on her computer and she's shocked because, they're gathering information on him. Her husband's right there. But yeah, I really, really liked it. I liked it a lot. But I'm going to give it a borrow because, I read it once. I'm sure if I read it a couple more times, I'll like it a little bit more. But I'm going to wait 3 issues. I give it like the 3-issue rule after 3 issues. If all 3 issues are like decent enough, I'll start giving it buys. But right now, it's just a borrow. But I really did enjoy it. I had a good time.
I think this would be a good thing to end after a miniseries. Like, solve the whole family thing and a few fun adventures versus random monsters, and then kind of wrap it up and then have them be just a character that appears here and there. But yeah, like I really expected to hate it. I didn't hate it. Like I said, it was. I had more fun reading this than like my first issue of Spectacular Spider-Man or anything like that. Yeah. For some comparison's sake, for a more mainstream Marvel book, but
this is a lot better.
Yeah, it really was. We're gonna wrap this up. So yeah, check out Weapon H if you neglected it. It wasn't really bad at all. It was rather good. So you guys know where to find us. I will have the poll up on Monday for you. We got a better selection of books this week. It was a tough week last week. And I think we're going to throw a Miss Marvel next time it appears up there for John Wayne. So shout out to you. Shout out to Canada for the Wendigos. We thank you, Hassan and G-Man. But yeah, we're signing out here. Anything to add there?
No, I'm good.
All right. You guys know where to find us, and we will be back next week. Peace out.
Peace.